Now let's go to Kurdistan region of Iraq, as we have Chira Abdullah, whom we will shortly hear from her own expertise from the ground, as she's a practitioner working on creating cohesive societies through fostering women's rights, women's participation, and youth participation in the civil society. She's an engineer and community activist. Her passion for serving her community started at a very early age. Chira worked as a volunteer for many years in the education, culture, and health sectors to help her community and those affected by the war in Iraq, especially women and girls, where she has 7 years of advocacy experience. She has worked as a women's platform manager and director of the Continuous Education Center, working still on sharing awareness about important issues related to youth. Chara is now a project manager at a dialogue and culture organization, an NGO that works on peace building and resolving conflicts through dialogue and understanding differences, also centralizing the critical role of women in peace building. Chara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful messages. There are so many unknown informations, actually, in which I have to, not forget as a woman to work more on it. Now I will share my screen because I have managed PowerPoint. Is it shared? Good. Okay. So
yes.
Here. Okay. Thank you. Here, I will be talking about the Iraq and the role of the civil societies, and let's see when civil society become active in Iraq. CSOs are new forms in Iraq context. Actually, they emerged after 2003 war. And then they had a very significant role in, supporting women, families, youth, especially after ISIS war. They were so active, and they helped the displaced families in order to have their first aid needs. After that, in all areas of Iraq, including the Kurdistan region, there are nearly 6,350 non-governmental organizations. Each of them are working in a different sector, including women organizations. To support or to get the support from the government in 2005, Iraqi constitution guaranteed the right to form civil society institutions, because before that there were so many attacks to the NGOs, and they were not allowed to work freely. So after 2005, things got much easier for them. Here, I will talk about the civil society role in women's rights and girls' education in Iraq. First of all, I will talk through governmental wise. The Department of Social Welfare for Women in 2008 started to become active, which was the huge step in order to protect women's rights in Iraq, because before that, there was such a thing. And after that, the improvement of women's development, which is now one of the United Nations goal, that it's women empowerment, in the joint press that's released in 2023 in Iraq. They mentioned that women empowerment should be one of the active practices that Iraq should work on it. As the Iraqi constitution of 2005, as I mentioned earlier, one of the great achievements of women in Iraq and in Kurdistan region was the seats in the parliament. 30% of seats in the parliament are in Kurdistan region for women, and 25% is for Iraq. Here, women, and after that, we have Women Empowerment Service in 2017, which is one of the active forum, which is especially in Kurdistan region. They support women who have their small businesses, they're trying to be economically independent. They have so much support from the civil societies. As we can see from the data, Kurdistan Regional Government, High Council of Women Affairs, they planned for a national strategy of 10 years plan. In that national strategy, all the women rights are included, including the empowerment of all women and having the access to education, which in Kurdistan region, actually, there are so many activities, there are so many support to involve women in the in support in decision-making positions, in leadership positions, and they're now working on equal pay, which there's still a gap, but they hopefully it will close that gap as well. If we come to the laws in the court, one of the greatest, like one of the most, like useful or impacted law is Combating Domestic Violence Act number 2011. It is like working in Kurdistan region of Iraq, but unfortunately in the Arab areas in Baghdad, that law is not working, and there are still so many violence against women without any, support from the courts. We have hotline in Kurdistan region as well, which is 122. While any woman faces any violence, they can call that number, and the Combating Domestic Violence office will go and help them in order to rescue them. And we have female genital mutilation, which unfortunately in Kurdistan region was high before, like sharing awareness through civil societies, but now hopefully it has reduced to from 23% to 10%, and it's forbidden by law. And we have shelters as well, which unfortunately in Iraq, in the Arab regions, in Arab areas, there's no such shelters, and they're still trying to work on it in order to solve that problem. But we have it in Kurdistan region that saved so many women from the any type of violence. Here we have society. Through the society part, civil societies tried to share so many awarenesses about the issues that today women and girls are facing, such as like equal pay and giving opportunity in order to participate the girls or the women in like local bazaars, in having their own job, go outside during nights. All those things are now easier than ever. And focusing on the important issues of women that have been considered as a flaw for many years, not rights. Unfortunately, in Iraq generally, like violence or beating is accepted by the woman as a man right, it is like suppressed, like you have to be silent and you have to accept it. That's the nature of like our marriage. But right now, there are so many awareness sessions, like including like showing that the violence is not acceptable. You have to, stand for your own right. And we have social media campaigns, which is like one of the active campaigns, because based on the data that we were working on recently, many of the violence are now electronic violence, unfortunately. So there should be a social media campaigns as well in order to know how to deal with those victims. As educational wise, there were so many courses supporting the women in the camps, supporting the girls in the camps, because of the situations that are happening in Iraq. Like, unfortunately, crisis over crisis, war over war, like there are so many gaps that formed during these years that it needs a very, very hard working altogether in order to fill up those gaps. And we have the illiteracy training, school inside camps, girls reading session, opening laboratories in order to give the youth the opportunity to be educated. If they're living in the camp, they have to be educated, because it's not their it's not their need, like it was not their choice in order to live in the camps or to see those traumas, actually, because I have experienced it. Like I don't know how to express it. The situations were so unimaginable, actually. And we have educational funding, which is a very effective way of like supporting youths or women who are like very active, or they're so smart in school, but they don't have the economical power in order to continue. So we give the civil societies give the fundings as well, and the literacy rate thankfully is increased from 2030 till 2070. Then The challenges that we as a civil societies or as NGOs face in Iraq are like lack of trusted data. Like while you want to work on something or on a issue, you don't have the trusted data. The government don't give you the trusted data in order to see how effective the outcomes will be if you are working on something. There's the interference by the political side, unfortunately. There's a tribal and religious interference. There's inadequate implementation of laws. Like in Kurdistan region, some of the laws are working. It's the same law. It's not working in Iraq, in the Arab regions, which is also a very it makes a huge gap. And we have also the cultural norms in rural areas. The things are so difficult because they're they are stick to some cultural norms that it needs like years in order to change that norms. And as I mentioned, not being helpful in implementing the strategy, while we want to work on a strategy to plan for the elimination of violence against women, there are so many barriers that face NGOs in order to work due to the corruption of the government. There are so many problems that they don't allow you to work on such a thing. Here, the target couldn't be reached. Let's see why the target of the NGOs after all those years couldn't be reached. Now, based on the recent data, 1.32 million people are estimated to be at risk of different forms of gender-based violence. 75% of them are women and adolescents. 77 are it's from domestic violence because of the following issues, which is economic crisis after 2014, after ISIS, everything just destroyed. War and displacement, social norms, COVID-19. Then the effect of COVID-19 was on domestic violence. Actually, the rates of the domestic violence increased unbelievably because of the COVID-19 and the lack of job opportunities or early marriage. So let's see reasons why those NGOs couldn't reach those the outcomes that they were trying to work on. To be honest, their activities, there are so many NGOs, but their activities couldn't reach or they couldn't represent the reality of women in the Iraq generally. And 2/3 of women hadn't heard of their activities because, for example, they focus on the cities, on the big cities, and they forget to focus on the rural areas, which most of the problems start there. The loss of the society trust because some of the NGOs used the fund that they received for their own benefits, and they tried to dominate the problems that are not with the norm of the community. And during that, some of the women became victim of the wrong message that the NGOs were giving, and changing the aim of the NGO. At the beginning, the NGO is working for human right, for women right, let's say. But after that, after receiving money funds and after the political interaction, they change their aims, and so that the goal will disappear as well. The low prevalence of anti-violence programs for international NGOs and in the rest of the Iraq areas. Iraq is a very diverse country, ladies, and there are so many different religion, ethnicities, and beliefs, norms. It needs a very long strategic plan in order to avoid these conflicts actually. And all the rural areas are less active because they cannot reach to the NGOs, and NGOs cannot reach them as well. There's an adequate CSO and employee modernization strategy. We are still the same. There's no update in our NGOs for the employees and for this and updating the employees and the NGO as well, because now the problems are different from 10 years back, right? So they have to update themselves in order to give the right solution to the problems. The lack of adequate solution for root causes. We have to focus on the root causes. Unfortunately, most of the NGOs, they don't focus on the root causes. Like they come and they give, for example, a session, and they don't take feedback, and they don't evaluate the outcomes. What causes like the violence? Why the family should shouldn't support their daughter, right? Because here we have a very problem with the family support. When the daughter get married in Iraq region, you don't have to come back, and if your husband is violating you, you have to accept it. Like, we have to focus on the root causes in order to give the best result, and they work randomly, without considering the geography of the group that they are giving the session. So let's see what we can do as NGOs, as activists, in order to avoid such things. Education. For me, the structure of every community starts with education. Education is everything. Education is attitude. Education is the way that you talk. Education is the way that you ask for your right. Unfortunately, Iraq's education system is very unsystematic, and after COVID, it's like it has a very it's not that professional in order to give that best practice of the education to the girls and women especially. And security and peace. Unfortunately, security and peace is not available for Iraqi women. Family support. We have to educate our girls. We have to provide security and peace. We have to teach families that their support means everything to their daughters. And increasing women participation in leadership and governmental position, mandatory family courses before marriage. It is very important. Based on a study in Malaysia, 30% of the divorced family became 3% just because of the giving family courses before marriage. It is very important. It's activated in Kurdistan region in Iraq, but on a some sort of age. Like if you are under 18, they will give you. If you're above 18. You don't need it, but we all need it before marriage in order to know what are our rights and what's our husband's rights, right? After that, social and health insurance, we don't have it. One of the main problem that our women are accepting that balance is that they are not economically independent. They don't have a backbone. They don't have anything. While they get divorced, there's nowhere to go. There's no money, there's nothing. So they said, we will accept it, but to live in a house and to have something to eat. Women and girl empowerment is very important. Maternity leave and pay, expand access to microcredit projects and home-based work. So here, as a DCO, and we work on activities related to women. We have 50% women employee, 50 by 50. 30% of our projects annually are women empowerment projects, and 70% of our project are peace dialogue, education awareness with gender balance. We try to involve women as possible as we can, because they have a huge role in developing the community. So what we did, we gave educational sessions every year, 6,000 students get benefit from it. Women entrepreneurship community, that we have 70 women that they have their own small businesses. We support them in order to open exhibitions. We have a youth diversity community, each youth from a very different background of Iraq region and from the very different ethnicities. We try to make to bring them together and to make projects to engage them. We open voluntary courses. We give equal opportunities for our employee. These are part of our activities, our women Peshmergas. We tried to celebrate them this year because they have a huge, role in, protecting our country. And we have a martyrs who gave their lives, leaving a 5-month baby in ISIS war. Nergis, her name was Nergis. We open courses for the small business women in order to support them to be economically independent. At the end, I will always say that we as NGOs are the solution. We have to come together. We have to cooperate together in order to give the positive solutions. I always say that please let's give our girls an opportunity in order to expand toward the world, because like here there are so many passionate girls. They need to work, they need to give their speech, but there's a very few opportunities for them, and here together we can make that change. Each of us from their side will make a huge change, believe me. And I am like witnessing